Okay. We just need to change out a box. IAS is how we're relaying this story to Chicago markets and New York markets, so we just need to make sure that that's up and running so we can get all that relayed to them. Sure. Audio test on the microphone. Audio test on the microphone. Got it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you for being here at this time. I'm going to make a brief statement, after which I'll take a few questions. So let's start out with the statement for now. This morning, it was requested by the Springfield Police Department that the Illinois State Police conduct an investigation into the death of Springfield Mayor Timothy J. Davlin. At this point in the investigation, the Illinois State Police is conducting an investigative canvass of Mayor Davlin's neighborhood, conducting investigative interviews, and processing the incident scene to include a search of the property. The Illinois State Police investigators will attend the autopsy, which is currently scheduled to take place tomorrow, December 15th. The Illinois State Police would like to extend its heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of Mayor Davlin and to the residents of Springfield. No additional information will be provided until the investigation is completed. At this time, I would like to take your questions. However, I would ask you to consider the fact that this investigation is still very new. We are just getting started with it, and I will not be able to answer questions specific to details involved in this investigation.
Can you explain what an investigative canvass entails?
Sure. An investigative canvass is just a typical process that we do for residents in the area, so neighbors of Mr. Davlin and people that might have information as to any circumstances surrounding the event today.
Will Susan Boone do the autopsy tomorrow?
Susan Boone will make the determination as to who is going to conduct the autopsy, but as far as any additional information, as far as whether she's going to do it personally or assign someone to do it, feel free to contact her office with regards to that. As I did mention, Illinois State Police investigators will be present for the autopsy, as we are for any death investigation.
Confidence in Susan Boone to be in charge of the autopsy?
I think, as I mentioned before, we will be present with our investigators to oversee the process. But as to any additional information, I cannot comment.
So you won't say whether you're confident or not?
I think it's irrelevant at this time. What's important is to know that our investigators will be present no matter who is conducting the autopsy.
Are you confirming that the cause of death was gunshot?
The cause of death will not be determined until the autopsy is complete.
Did the mayor suffer a gunshot wound?
As I mentioned before, the cause of death will not be determined until the autopsy is complete.
Can you confirm when he was found, when
the
body was first found? Would this occur this morning or last night?
It occurred this morning. At 9:13 this morning is when we were notified by the Springfield Police Department that there was a 911 call that required their response, and at that point we were involved in the process.
Did the mayor call 911 himself?
We do not have information as to who actually made the 911 call. At this time, the only information that we have is that a 911 call was placed.
Why don't you know who called 911?
As far as tracing back the phone number and those types of processes, that'll happen over the course of the investigation, so that information will be forthcoming.
Do you know from what phone number the call was originated?
At this time, we do not.
The fact that it's an investigative canvass, does that mean that there may have been someone entering or leaving the home? Is that what you're asking neighbors about?
It's standard procedure for any death investigation to question everybody in the area that may have information that at the time might seem unrelated to any events peripheral to this, but it's also necessary for us to find out that information.
Does that indicate that foul play is a possibility, or does it?
We're proceeding forward with the death investigation to make sure that all options are considered.
This would be considered extraordinary if it were obvious that this was a self-inflicted gunshot wound. In terms of the investigative canvass, in terms of streets blocked off, and so little information being kept silent.
Well, really, no matter what the circumstances are surrounding the death, we're following the same procedures.
Have you obtained a search warrant for the property?
Yes, we have.
And what are you looking for in that warrant?
Really, we're looking for anything that's out of place in the residence, just to make sure we can find any information that's pertinent to this investigation.
Are you looking at information related to his death or information related to any financial issues he may have?
The only investigation that the Illinois State Police is heading up or taking any part of is the death investigation.
Do you know if the mayor was alone in the home, and was he the sole resident of that home?
We don't have the detailed information at this time, but obviously that's part of the process.
Regarding the call, are you saying you won't tell us who the 911 call was from, or you don't know?
We don't know. At this time, we do not have information as to which phone number this 911 call was placed from.
Where in Davlin's home was he found?
At this time, we do not have that information available.
You don't have it available, or you won't tell us?
We will not disclose that information at this time until more details from the investigation are completed.
Will you disclose whether he had a car in his garage?
The 911 call came from, that's extremely unusual also.
At this point, we're working to determine exactly what phone number it originated from.
Is it possible it was a cell? Is that the?
It's possible.
So is the assumption that this was self-inflicted?
At this point, the death investigation will determine that, but at this point, we do not have the cause of death until the autopsy is completed.
So should people in the neighborhood be worried that there's someone who committed a homicide on the loose?
Any steps necessary to maintain public safety in the area will be done as they always are on a regular basis.
Are you able to say who found the mayor's remains?
Right now, Springfield Police Department was the police department that called us in response to it, so they were the ones that brought us in on the scene. The Illinois State Police was not first on the scene.
And have you talked to any other witnesses to this or anybody who was at the house?
At this point, we'll do a comprehensive list of interviews with anybody that has potential information on it. That's part of the neighborhood canvass, and we'll also talk to anybody that we believe has information that could be important for the
Is there an
investigation.
indication that anything was missing from the home?
At this time, we have not completed our search of the residence, so there will be additional information forthcoming about that.
Is there any foul play suspected from anything you've seen so far?
You know, as I mentioned, the death investigation will be comprehensive to rule out any possible causes. We will make sure to go into as much detail as necessary to ascertain the cause of death. So it's always considered when you're looking at a death investigation. Well, right now, as I mentioned before, the autopsy will be completed tomorrow. We will try and be as thorough as possible, but also to be as swift as possible in getting this investigation concluded. We do not have a date set as far as when we expect it to be done. However, it'll depend based on the course of the investigation.
Can you tell us why you can't tell us whether he suffered a gunshot wound? How could that hamper your investigation? Surely, if he shot himself, there's no crime involved here potentially. And if somebody shot him, then the person who shot him knows that he was shot. Can you just tell us why you won't say yes or no whether he suffered a gunshot wound?
When we're doing a death investigation, we don't disclose any of the details that might be pertinent to that investigation.
Was a weapon found at the scene?
Excuse
Was a
me?
weapon found at the scene?
I can't disclose that information at this time.
Earlier, you said you got the call from Springfield Police at 9:13. At what time do you suspect that he was actually shot? Did he shoot himself last night or this morning?
You know, as far as that'll be part of the investigation as we find out exactly building the timeline as far as the death is concerned. All I know is that we were contacted at 9:13 to respond to it, after which we were placed in charge of the investigation.
Is the car running in the garage at that time? We'd heard reports that a car was running in the garage, as if at 9 o'clock in the morning he'd gone to the garage to start his car.
All that information will be forthcoming once we complete the investigation.
How many people will be on the investigative team? Who all is involved in this?
Right now, it's our Zone 4 investigation team, so basically they handle this particular region of the state. We have several officers that are assigned to this particular duty, but we'll dedicate all resources necessary to make sure that it's concluded in a timely manner.
Can you describe the nature of the 911 call? What exactly was sought? Were they seeking help? Were they asking to render assistance, asking for an ambulance? What was the nature of the 911 call?
Right now, we have not had an opportunity to review the recording of the 911 call, but that will be part of the investigation.
Now, I'm sorry to re-ask the same question a different way, but when you talk to everybody at City Hall, the obvious assumption is that this was a suicide. Can you just kind of shed some light on it? How everyone in town believes this was a suicide? Where are we getting this? What's the...
All I can tell you is that making assumptions is not part of the investigative process. What we'll do is we'll look at the information that's available to us, complete a timely and accurate investigation, and report on the findings once it's complete.
Director, is all of this standard? Is all of this standard for any death that you're asked to investigate?
It is.
Will the cause of death be announced tomorrow? I know they're conducting the autopsy tomorrow, but will the cause of death be?
The results of the autopsy will indicate a cause of death.
Tomorrow?
Correct.
Tomorrow?
That's on the timeline of the coroner, but we expect that the autopsy will be conducted tomorrow, and at the conclusion of that, we will have a cause of death.
Why are you so confident the results of the cause of death will be available tomorrow? Why are you so confident the autopsy will reveal the cause of death?
As I mentioned, as an answer to that question, will actually be determined by the coroner when they release that information, but we do know that the autopsy will be conducted tomorrow, and the coroner will decide when that information is released.
Because it seems to me that if you're so confident that the autopsy is going to reveal the cause of death, you got a pretty good idea right now.
All I can tell you is that the coroner will determine what the cause of death is. That is not part of our purview. What we do is conduct the investigation for the circumstances surrounding the death. The coroner is the person who will actually determine what the cause of death was.
And so do you suspect foul play?
As I mentioned, it's a death investigation, so we can't rule out any possibilities. Thank you very much for your time, everyone.
And it's not been like this. I'm sorry, it's a different review, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but we have covered many other Illinois State Police death investigations, and this one is extraordinary. Could you address that, please?
I can tell you that every step that is necessary in order to conduct a thorough death investigation is being done at this time, and we're bringing all resources necessary at the request of the Springfield Police Department.
Can you describe the home itself? Was it in disarray?
Everybody, thanks for your time today. I appreciate it. There will be additional details forthcoming.
Will there be another briefing tomorrow, Director? Another briefing scheduled for tomorrow?
Right now, we don't have anything scheduled at this time.